My sister planted drugs in my room and called the police. My own parents stood beside her and nodded like it was the truth. They said, "Just take the blame, Kelsey. It's easier this way." But they didn't know I had proof, real proof. And the moment my lawyer showed them the footage, my mom went pale. My dad couldn't even speak. It didn't feel like the day my life ended. There was no dramatic music, no gut instinct warning me to run, no icy chill creeping down my spine. It was just a regular Tuesday. The kind you forget, until it becomes the one day you'll never forget. If I had known what was coming, that I'd be in handcuffs by dinner while my family watched from the hallway, I wouldn't have worn socks with holes in them. But I didn't know. Not until the knock. 2 knocks, to be exact. 2 officers. One tall, serious. The other built like a former linebacker who hadn't smiled since the early 2000s. They said my name, Kelsey Miller. I froze. Not because I'd done anything wrong, but because no one expects cops to show up at your door like they were on your delivery order. Yeah, I said, my voice caught between a question and a confession. "We received a tip about illegal substances at this residence," said the taller one, reading it like it was a weather report. "We'd like to come inside." The street behind them looked exactly the same neighbor's flagpole, same parked car, same dog barking 2 houses down. But everything felt off, tilted. Like my house was on the edge of a cliff, and I'd just noticed the drop. "Okay," I said, stepping back. Because I wasn't guilty. Because I thought this was about my sister. Because in that moment, I still believed my parents had my back. But that belief didn't survive the next 5 minutes. I led them down the hallway, still confused, still half convinced they'd made a mistake. Illegal substances? Had my sister, Betrayal, finally crossed a line? Then I saw my mom. She was seated in the living room, calm, composed, cup of chamomile in hand like she'd been expecting company. Not the police company. "Oh, officers," she said gently, setting her cup on the coaster. "Kelsey's room is the 3rd door on the left." I blinked. "What? Why my room?" No one answered. My dad stood behind her. He didn't look shocked. He didn't even look at me. The officers didn't hesitate. They moved through the house like they knew it better than I did. Like they'd been told exactly where to go. At the top of the stairs, Betrayal leaned on the railing. Hoodie, slick ponytail, phone in one hand. She didn't say a word. Didn't move. Didn't blink. Baxter, my old, scruffy spaniel, lifted his head as they walked by. No barking. Just a slow tail wag. Like even he wasn't sure what kind of moment this was. The taller cop scanned the room. The other went straight for the dresser. My dresser. He opened the bottom drawer without hesitation and pulled out a Ziploc bag full of white pills. I let out a short, stunned laugh. "Okay, that's not mine." Neither of them flinched. They'd heard that one before. I spun around. My parents stood in the hallway. My mom had her hands clasped like she was praying. My dad? Still no eye contact. "Tell them," I said louder. "You know that's not mine." One officer turned toward them. "You said earlier you'd seen this bag in her possession?" My mom nodded. Quietly. Carefully. "Yes." We didn't know what it was, but she's been distant lately. Withdrawn, my dad added. A little erratic. It felt like watching someone else's nightmare unfold. Except it was my room. My name. My life. "You can't be serious," I said. "Betrayal, she's the one who..." "Kelsey," my mom interrupted, soft and sharp. "Don't make this worse than it already is." And then they cuffed me. Right there in the hallway I'd walked through since I was 5. The hallway where I learned to ride a tricycle. Where I hung handmade birthday banners. Baxter stood up, unsure, and gave a low, confused whimper. One of the officers told him to stay back. Betrayal didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched. Eyes blank. Mouth closed. Like she was already erasing me. I didn't cry. Not in the hallway. Not in the cruiser. Not even when the metal door clanked shut behind me. The cuffs had left red grooves on my wrists. The air in the holding cell smelled like bleach and despair. The bench was wide enough to sit, but not lie down. The lights buzzed overhead like they were mocking me. It wasn't rage I felt. It wasn't fear either. It was emptiness. like my brain had been scooped out and filled with static. I sat there, staring at my palms, imagining Baxter curled up by the window, ears twitching at every sound. He wouldn't eat, not until he saw me. He was like that. Loyal. Faithful. Still mine. I imagined my parents discussing how to manage the situation, using words like damage control and optics. And I pictured Brielle, still perched at the top of the stairs like a queen in a crumbling kingdom. Untouched. Unbothered. Victorious. In our house, image was everything. Questioning something meant you were dramatic. Accusing meant you were dangerous. I thought maybe I was overreacting, even when I'd seen Brielle's strange behavior. The slurred phone calls. The sketchy friends in and out of the house. One guy wore sunglasses indoors and called me kiddo. Another left the back gate open and claimed the dog probably ran off. I had noticed it all. The way Brielle had started lingering by my door. The way she paused, just long enough to be unsettling. But I stayed quiet. Because being the quiet one was the only way I'd ever survive that house. Still, in the silence of that cell, something stirred. A memory. A thread. The bear. That stupid, wide-eyed teddy bear on my bookshelf. The one with the tiny pinhole camera in its eye. I bought it last year when Baxter started having little seizures. Just to monitor him. It was motion-activated. Recorded to a micro SD. No cloud. No Wi-Fi. No one knew about it but me. And it faced my dresser. Exactly where Brielle had planted the bag. My pulse kicked up. But I didn't flinch. Because if I told anyone too soon, if I gave them time, they might find it before I did. I had one phone call. And I used it. The phone rang twice before Ava picked up. "Kels," she said, confused. "Are you okay?" "No," I replied, keeping my voice low. "But I need you to listen. Please." I didn't give her the whole story. There wasn't time, and I didn't need her sympathy. I needed her trust. "Go to my house. Now. Get Baxter." And then grab the teddy bear on my bookshelf, the one with the red bow. Inside is a camera. There's a micro SD card. Don't leave it. Don't tell anyone. Just take it and go. She was silent for a beat. Then, "Got it. I'm on it." "I'm serious, Ava," I whispered. "Don't let anyone see you. Don't hesitate. Just do it now." "I will," she promised. "Hang in there." I hung up. And for the first time in what felt like days, I breathed. Not fully. Not peacefully. But it was something. I didn't know if the card still worked. I didn't know if Brielle had discovered the camera. I didn't even know if it had caught what I prayed it had. But it was all I had. One thread of truth in a house full of curated lies. I sat back on the bench in that holding cell, hugging my arms, trying to focus on something other than the buzzing lights and the metallic taste in my mouth. And I waited. For hours. For a day. For a sign that someone still believed in me. Baxter was probably pacing near the door, tail down, ears perked at every car. My grandpa might have gotten the call. I imagined him sitting by the phone, staring at it, heartbroken but not surprised. He always knew what kind of family we were. They thought I'd fold. They thought I'd play the part. The scapegoat. But they forgot one thing. I'd learned how to survive them. And this time, I had receipts. They brought me into a cold, concrete room with 2 chairs and a table that looked like it had heard more betrayals than conversations. My lawyer was already there. Her name was Leah Stratton. Mid-30s, hair pulled back, no makeup, oversized blazer that didn't quite fit her shoulders. She looked more like a tired schoolteacher than someone who'd be holding my future in her hands. But she didn't smile. Didn't waste time. Didn't blink when she opened the file and said, "Kelsey Miller?" I nodded. "I've reviewed the police report," she said, her voice level. "I also spoke with your parents." Of course she had. They're concerned. "They said this behavior seems out of character, but that you've been withdrawn, isolated." I just stared. Because what was I supposed to say to that? That isolation was my natural state in that house? Leah gave me a second. Maybe to speak. Maybe to hang myself. I didn't bite. "I want to go over the evidence," she continued. "We need to talk about the bag found in your dresser." I didn't put it there, I said plainly. My sister did. There was a pause, brief, but sharp. You're saying Brielle planted it? Yes. And your parents. They know. They're helping her cover it up. Leah folded her hands. Do you have any proof? I opened my mouth. Closed it. Then it hit me again like lightning. The bear. The tiny lens in its eye. The SD card no one knew about. I didn't say it out loud. Not yet. If Leah told my parents, they'd make sure it disappeared before anyone could get to it. So instead, I just stared at her and said nothing. They gave me one phone call. I'd already used it. All I could do now was wait. Wait for Ava. Wait for the truth. Wait for the one thing that could unravel their entire performance. Because if the footage was there, then their show was about to close early. The next morning, Leah walked in holding a folder, same expression, same calm, but this time, her eyes were different. Sharper. Focused. Like something had shifted. We have something, she said, taking her seat. You're going to want to be there for this. I didn't ask. I just nodded. She didn't show me the footage yet, just told me what was on it. Brielle. Your room. The dresser. A Ziploc bag, she said. The camera caught everything. Full view. Timestamped. No ambiguity. My throat tightened. I blinked hard, letting her words settle. Leah scheduled a pre-trial conference, neutral ground, just to clarify the family narrative. It was the calm before the storm kind of legal talk. But I understood exactly what she was doing. My parents agreed to the meeting. So did Brielle. We met in a small room at the courthouse, drab walls, cheap chairs, buzzing fluorescent lights. Everything beige. Everything pretending not to care what was about to happen. I sat beside Leah. Calm. Still. Because this time, I wasn't the one about to be exposed. My mom walked in first, pressed blouse, her face taut like she'd been practicing concern in the mirror. My dad followed, unreadable as ever. Then Brielle, sleeves tugged over her hands, eyes dark, defensive. She didn't meet my gaze. They sat across from us. Leah opened her folder without a word of welcome. No greetings. No pleasantries. Before we begin, she said, turning her laptop toward them, I'd like to share a brief piece of evidence. She pressed play. The room was silent, except for the faint sound of Brielle's footsteps on video. She entered my room, paused at the door, pulled a Ziploc bag from her hoodie sleeve, opened my dresser, slid it into the bottom drawer. No hesitation. No panic. Just a clean, deliberate act of betrayal. The timestamp? 1 day before my arrest. No one breathed. My mom went white, not dramatic, not theatrical. Just empty. My dad leaned forward, his hands clasped tight. Brielle? She stared at herself on screen like she couldn't believe what she'd done, except I knew she could. And when the footage ended, she cracked. It wasn't supposed to go that far, she blurted. It was just supposed to scare her. She wasn't even supposed to get arrested. Leah turned the screen back toward herself. Calm. Unshaken. So, she said, would anyone like to revise their statements? Silence followed. Not the awkward kind. Not the uncomfortable kind. The brittle, dangerous kind, like the air itself was waiting to shatter. My mom spoke first. Her voice was thin, like it was being pulled through a sieve. We were trying to protect the family, she whispered. You don't understand. No, I said, calmly. I do. I've always understood. That's the problem. Brielle turned toward me, her face flushed. You don't get it, she snapped. You always acted like the victim, even before anything happened. You made everything harder. I made it harder? I said, eyebrows raised. So framing me was your solution? It wasn't supposed to be this, she said quickly. You weren't supposed to get booked. They said it'd just be a warning. So what was this then? I asked. Plan B when you didn't get your way? Her eyes flicked to our parents like she expected them to back her up. But neither of them said a word. My dad finally muttered, this isn't helping. But he didn't say who it wasn't helping. Didn't say sorry. Didn't look at me. Just tried to move past it like he always had. Leah closed the laptop with a soft click, then stacked the file neatly into her bag. I'll be submitting the footage to the prosecutor today, she said, her voice perfectly professional. We'll be filing a motion to dismiss all charges against Kelsey, effective immediately. She looked directly at my parents. And we'll also be submitting a formal report regarding the false statements submitted by her family. Perjury. Obstruction. Conspiracy. My mom's mouth parted slightly, like she wanted to protest, to rewrite the scene, but all she managed was a shallow inhale. Brielle slumped back in her chair. Silent. No one said goodbye. They just got up and left. First Brielle. Then my dad. My mom lingered at the door like she might say something meaningful. But she didn't. She just walked out. I sat there, hands folded in my lap, the first real peace settling into my bones. They looked at me like I betrayed them, I whispered. Leah glanced at me. They know exactly what they did, she said. That's what makes it worse. And just like that, the lie collapsed. I went straight to Grandpa's after the charges were dropped. That yellow house with the crooked steps and the humming fridge, it had never felt more like home. Baxter ran to the door before I could knock, tail wagging like he hadn't eaten in days. His eyes found mine. I knelt down. He whined, pushed his head into my shoulder like he was trying to glue me back together. He didn't ask questions. He just loved me. Grandpa handed me a glass of water and sat across from me like we were about to talk about the weather. But instead, he looked me in the eye and said something I didn't see coming. I told them, that I was leaving everything to you. I blinked. Wait, what? He shrugged, like it was nothing. A couple weeks before all this happened. I figured they'd find out sooner or later. Might as well come from me. You never told me, I whispered. Didn't think I had to, he said. Apparently I did. He leaned forward. 3 weeks later, your mom calls me. Says you've been arrested. Drugs. Says I should reconsider the will. My hands clenched around the glass. Did you believe them? No, he said plainly. But I didn't argue. I just called my lawyer. He stood, walked to the cabinet, and pulled out a manila envelope. Thick. Sealed. I didn't change the will, he said. I tore it up. It's a trust now. Living irrevocable. Already signed. Already filed. I stared at the envelope. You mean, it's already mine? He smiled. It's yours. No one can touch it. They can't rewrite this one. Under the table, Baxter laid his head on my foot like he knew. Like he'd been waiting for this moment, too. They tried to erase me to protect their future. But I had one without them all along. The sentencing came 3 weeks later. Brielle pled guilty to 2 felonies, possession with intent to distribute and conspiracy to file a false police report. She took a plea deal, 3 years in a state correctional facility. Eligible for parole in 2. She cried in court. But the tears didn't change what she did. As for my parents, they were charged with obstruction of justice, false reporting, and conspiracy to commit perjury. No plea deals. No mercy. They got 18 months each in county jail, followed by 2 years of supervised probation. But honestly, they lost more than time. They lost their reputation, their friendships, each other. Leah told me later they'd stopped speaking completely. My mom blamed my dad for letting things spiral. My dad blamed her for overreacting. Funny how quickly loyalty dries up when the truth finally gets loud. I didn't attend the final hearing. Didn't need to see them in orange jumpsuits or hear courtroom apologies written by lawyers. I'd already gotten what I came for, my name back. My future. And Baxter, still curling up next to me every night like nothing had changed. Grandpa never once asked me to forgive them. Never told me family is everything or that I'd regret cutting ties. He just poured another cup of tea, sat beside me on the porch, and let the silence feel safe for once. Sometimes I wonder if they expected me to thank them. Like years later, I'd show up older, humbled, grateful for the life lesson. But I wasn't a student learning from some noble punishment. I was a daughter, a sister, a scapegoat. And I healed in spite of them, not because of them. After the dust settled, I moved into Grandpa's house for good. He offered, I didn't hesitate. I fixed up the spare bedroom, repainted the hallway, Cleaned out the attic while Baxter sniffed every box like they held secrets. That house became mine in a way my childhood home never was. It was steady. It was honest. It was safe. I enrolled in classes again, online first, then part-time at the community college. Criminal justice, ironically. Not because I wanted revenge. Because I wanted understanding. I wanted to learn the system that almost swallowed me whole. So maybe one day, I could help someone else who didn't have a teddy bear camera or a best friend willing to act fast. 6 months after the trial, I got a letter. No return address. But I knew the handwriting. Betrayal. I held it for a long time. Didn't open it. Didn't burn it. Just tucked it into a drawer beside other things I wasn't ready to decide about. My parents never wrote. Never called. The only thing I received was a probate notice from their lawyer. I forwarded it to mine. Didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. But Baxter? He still follows me from room to room. Still barks at the microwave like it insulted his ancestors. Still curls against my legs like he's afraid I'll disappear again. He's older now. Slower. Sometimes he limps. Sometimes I watch his chest rise just to be sure. But he's here. He made it through. So did I. Grandpa says healing doesn't always look like forgiveness. Sometimes it looks like silence. Like boundaries. Like not picking up the phone even when you could. I used to think surviving meant keeping the peace. Now I know it means keeping myself. So if you're watching this, if your own family ever made you feel invisible, if they made you carry shame that wasn't yours, if they blamed you for the very pain they caused, just know this. You don't have to disappear to be free. You don't have to play the part they wrote for you. You are allowed to choose yourself. I'm Kelsey Miller. And this time, I'm not going anywhere.